in today's video or in today's vlog, we are going to share the experiences of a very famous personality who has had this stuttering issue. I will call it an issue only and not a problem. And she has actually shown to us all that she can talk in front of thousands of people
Yeah.
confidently, showing that she has a bit of this issue, but she has also shown that how can that be made into a humor, which is a very important aspect. And
And also, Pavandip, just to add a little bit of the introduction to Nina G. So through
yes,
her witty,
sorry for
yeah,
that.
yeah. Through her witty jokes, Nina G is spreading awareness about the issue and is getting rid of a stigma that
Yeah.
surrounds it. And she has been doing this work for a good number of years right now. Can you tell us how much uh, of years so far?
I think I started in 2020, or no, 2020, in 2010.
Oh,
Okay.
So
that is a while
14-ish
back.
years.
Yeah.
So,
Yes,
so
please.
how did your life basically began with respect to having this stammering issue, number one, and with that, uh, when was the first time that you really felt that like pinch in you that yes, my family and friends are speaking in a very very good way, in a very fluent way, easy way, but then why am I not being able to do that same thing?
Okay, excellent. Yeah, and I do have dyslexia, so I'm not sure which order I'm going to answer those things in, and I will forget the question that you asked. So I may have
I
to go
am
back
there
and
for
listen.
you.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for that
We are there for
accommodation.
you.
Yeah, yeah.
Thank you. This is how everyone ought to be. Okay, anyway, I started to stutter when I was 8, but and that's the same year that I was diagnosed with dyslexia. Um, I started speech therapy when I was 2 because I have an auditory processing issue. Um, and that was an early sign of dyslexia. So I was a very late talker. And also I've read that there's women who stutter if they have dyslexia, like they have a better chance of stuttering when they're adults than when they're kids, like if they have that. So I don't know if that's still accurate or not, or if that's changed, but I read that once. So I was already like, as soon as my speech started to become more clear, that's when I started to stutter. So I don't know if I ever felt like I talked like everyone else. Um, I think my earliest memory of knowing that I was different in terms of the way that I talked, like I'd have adults like sometimes mirror me. Like once I was buying a t-shirt with Tweety Bird on it, and like I always, everyone explained that my speech was like I talked like a New Yorker, and so instead of saying bird, I'd say bird. I don't know, like I'd say it wrong. And like that's when I started to get obsessed with
Yeah.
New York when I was a kid, because I was like, I could just move there and not have to be in speech.
Yeah.
Like why are they trying to get my New York accent, my natural New York accent out of me? I could just move there and be fine. But then slightly after that, I started to stutter. And I remember, like, I don't remember my first stutter because it just kind of seemed to happen. And I think because I had all these other things going on. But in second grade, Miss McKeever, like I went to a Catholic school, and it, like every single month, one of the kids in the class got to get up to read a prayer in church. And it was May. I hadn't done it yet. And the teacher said, who in this class has not done the prayer yet? And I raised my hand. And this wasn't like, Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with you. Like, it wasn't that. It was that you had to read something from a script, like God bless, blah, blah, blah. And so I raised my hand, and the teacher saw me, and she had this look like, what am I going to do here? And then she went past me and called on somebody else who I knew had already read the prayer and said, you'll do it now. And so I felt so rejected, and I was like, I guess this is because I don't talk like everyone else. And I don't remember if I stuttered at that time, because I always associate stuttering when I was in third grade, but that was also my hardest year. So like, I don't know if I just put everything in that year or what exactly happened.
Great.
Yeah, and then I guess I know that phase when watching a movie. I think I know the part of your story. If I am wrong, you can of course correct me on that. But then the savior, I guess, came in form of Mrs. Bramlette. Yes.
Yes.
And she I guess encouraged you more to expose yourself,
Yes.
right?
Yeah, and it wasn't because of comedy necessarily, although there was a slight aspect there. It was just in general. Like, so Miss Bramlette, who all of her kids called her Miss B, I went to Catholic school, and what I always say is, you should never pity me for having a disability, but you can pity me for stuttering and having dyslexia in the 1980s in Catholic school, because that sucked. I don't know if that's internationally true, but it
It is
sucked.
true, I think.
Oh,
Yeah.
it is. Okay. I'm
It
glad
is.
the world is on the same page.
Yeah.
It's one of those things that works internationally. And so my self-esteem was in the toilet. I felt really bad about myself, like really, really, really bad. And Miss Bramlette saw that in freshman year when I went to public school, and she was my special ed or resource teacher. And in one of the IEPs, and that is a meeting that kids who are receiving special ed services get. And I was getting it mostly for my dyslexia and not for my stutter. But in the meeting, she had said that she observed me in the child development room, because I took a class where they had a preschool there a couple days a week, and I told the story. I did story time, and at the time I had been working in daycare for the 3 years. And I do a great story time and when you stutter, you learn ways to exaggerate your voice so you don't stutter. And so I did that with the kids. It's like, and then, and like,
That is
I knew.
that famous Marylin Monroe way. Yes, right?
Yes. And that's why she talked like this, so that she wouldn't stutter. And and I've been told once I was, and like I always tell it like it's a guy I'm on a date with. But no, I was actually in a professional meeting and I was telling people that, and someone said, that's very sexy. Maybe you should talk like that all the time. And I was like, dude,
Maybe
you got a PhD.
I
You got to
should
shut
try.
the fuck up.
Yeah,
So sorry, I swore.
it's fine.
I swore. Okay.
You are comedian, so I guess the audience is gonna expect that. But what I wanted to say, maybe I should talk like that now because I'm having a really bad speech period these days. But
Well, Marylin didn't do that well. I don't know if you guys saw what her life was, but like, unblocking some of that stutter may have helped her, because there was something going on there, and I assume that it was more than just the stutter. But when you have a persona that isn't you, what kind of impact does it have on your psyche, on your soul, all of that stuff?
Nice. So, Nina, before you moved on to like basically speaking on the stage. So pre 2010. Okay. What do you think? How would have been your life if you would have been a fluent speaker and wouldn't have faced this issue? Like, would it had changed in a way that you would have gone to a different lifestyle, probably having different sort of people with you?
Yeah, it's so hard to say. I was reading Catherine Peterson's book once, and she talks about like there's just this realization where she was like, oh, if I didn't stutter, I would have been this happy, beautiful kid. I don't think that would have been true for me, because I still had dyslexia, and the dyslexia was such like, people think that stuttering is a bigger issue. My dyslexia was so much more.
and what came harder to you, dyslexia or this?
I mean, it depends, but my dyslexia, because when you're in school, you're reading and writing and doing math more than you're talking. And that's where, for me, talking's always been my strength. Ironically enough, when I was given oral tests, I could do well. But if it was a written test, I couldn't. And the fact that I've written books is like much more impressive than that I do comedy. Like, that's how much more my dyslexia is. So in answering that question, um, I probably would have maybe gone into the arts earlier because I didn't have that barrier. So I think that's where it would have been. But dyslexics, or the arts is full of dyslexics, because we can express ourselves in different ways.
Milos, if I may.
Uh-huh.
So,
Yes.
Nina, how did you break that barrier? Because there are millions of people all over the world, right, who do face stammering, and throughout their life, they are actually not able to break that barrier. How did you do it? And I would want you to say it in a way in which they are actually helped by it, because they are actually not able to break that wall or break that barrier to actually go out in life and then be what they are.
Yep.
Yeah.
No, and so there is a concept that I talk about in my books, Stutterer Interrupted. that is the iceberg, and feel free to use that. Oh, yuck. Sorry, the little hanger, the sweater hanger thing is there. Okay, good.
It's fine.
Wardrobe misfunction on the show. Anyway, the iceberg, it's taken from Sheehan, who said that what you see is the iceberg, but all the feelings at the bottom are what the real issue is.
Mm-hmm.
And all of those for him were negative. And one of those was isolation. And that isolation, I think, is the key piece. We are 1% of the population. So if we can replace that isolation with community, that is so much more important. And for me, especially as a woman, we are, if there's 4 stutterers, 3 are going to be men, 1's going to be a woman. So we are isolated even more. And that's why I call us stuttering unicorns. And so I feel the key thing is to be around other stutterers, because we need the role models. And it's interesting because I talk to Michael Sugarman a lot, who I'm good friends with, and he kind of started the whole self-acceptance movement in stuttering in the 1970s, and he was the person who first started the National Stuttering Project, which eventually turned into the National Stuttering Association, and was just thank God for his dedication. And I feel so honored to be friends with him, with the person who kind of started the whole movement, or at least one of them. But I forget what I was saying about that. But I think what I was saying was that, that he had said that back in the day, in the 80s, they didn't want speech therapists, or speech therapists didn't want adults who stuttered to be around kids who stuttered, because then kids who stuttered would stop working on their techniques.
Why is that?
Well, if this adults stutters, then why would I try to work toward fluency? If I'm just gonna
you have such
habits,
a role model.
Habits.
Yeah. Well, but the thing is, like, I didn't know what I would grow into. Like, I didn't know what I would be, and it wasn't until I met John Allback when I volunteered during high school for the National Stuttering Project. If you got a newsletter in 1990 and it was folded, I did that folding. So that is how I started out in this. And look at me now. And he was a teacher. And then when I saw him, I was like, oh, okay, I've been doing childcare. I think I want to be a teacher. And we need role models to see that. And when I went to a conference in 2019, that's when everything changed, because I'd been to a stuttering conference once, like 15 years prior, but I wasn't ready yet. And also I was 19 and volunteering and just overwhelmed by all of the men there. Guys, sometimes you have to not hit on all the girls at the stuttering conference, because it totally overwhelmed me. And I didn't go back for a few years. When I went, I was around women who stuttered, and that was so important, because what I saw was, as a woman, you are socialized to give up your space. And as a person who stutters, you're socialized to give up your space. So I had a double whammy, as many women have. And so that really showed me how much I was holding back, and how much that affected the relationship I was in, how much that affected work. And eventually, it's coming out again. I have to, this is a brand new dress. I wore this because llamas are on it, and it's new, and I'm very excited. But
you can say to us if you did that on purpose.
Yeah, yeah, no,
for
I needed yeah, so let me tuck it into my bra. Okay. Anyway, that is my journey into, well, that's my own journey. And I think anybody who's wanting to kind of make that leap to put yourself in a community of people who stutter, whether it's a conference, whether it's online, just to see what that uncovers. Because I think that's where your mindset starts to change, and it's about changing your perspective on stuttering, because your stuttering is going to probably stay the same. And what we know here, and Milo talked about it, was it goes like this, and it's gonna go
Wave,
like
right?
this.
Wave.
yeah,
Waves.
and
Crest
you
and trough.
said that
Wave.
on your comedy special that you made a conscious decision to ride a wave,
Yeah.
right? And I wanted to ask you a question because I kind of felt when I was joining the American stuttering hangouts on Facebook, I kind of noticed, and maybe it is my mistake, that they were identifying themselves too much with being a person who has a stammer, which I can respect to a certain degree. So do you agree with me that it's maybe better to expand that identification on, let's say, your job um, or your fate and so on? So
Yeah, that's a really good question. There is a theory on disability identity, and I identify as a person with a disability. And that is in part because of my dyslexia and my stutter. Also, I'm in the Bay Area. This is where the disability independent movement happened. And in the US, you are protected as a person who stutters, you are protected under the Americans with Disabilities Act, at least for now. The Supreme Court may eventually change that, but for now we are. And so for me, disability identity is really important. And there is a theory of stages of disability development. And it's much like, in America, kids go through a thing of their own ethnic development, where they eventually become more integrated in. Where like, and I think with our stutter, maybe like we are, like I've been a militant stutterer at times, and I think you see that
militant
a
stutterer.
lot. Where it's like, you gotta stutter all the time. You have to be the one who calls up for the pepperoni pizza. I don't care what kind of day you're having, stutter 24/7. And I think we get hard on ourselves to be fluent, and we get hard on ourselves to stutter. And we have to be kinder to ourselves in both of those realms, and kinder to each other, where we are going to be where we are in that process. And yeah, I am fairly open about my stutter, but there are going to be times when I make my husband call up for the pizza. Does that mean I am selling out my stutter? No, it just means that I have talked enough, and I don't want to deal with the other person on the phone.
What's the worst comment from normal people that you have got, and what is the best comment from the same set of people you have got so far?
Okay, so the worst. Oh God. Okay.
So many, right?
There's so many. I can
Yeah.
give you a few examples. Is it okay if some of them
Yeah,
are like more adult content?
yeah. It's fine.
Okay. This is because one of them's bad.
Be free.
Okay. So once I did a presentation at a library, and it was on assistive technology, on like the how the computer reads things out loud. It was on dyslexia. And I felt good about it, and it was before I did comedy, so I was super high off of this presentation. And I felt good about it. And this older lady came up to me afterwards and said, "You are such an inspiration. If I talked like you, I wouldn't talk at all." And I was like,
Oh my God. Yeah.
"Whoa." Not a compliment.
I kind of
So
had the same situation as you in high school, where we should like demonstrate the interview for a job, and it's a bank, the officer job, like you are working as an accountant and you have to do the interview, and the professor said to whole class, this will have to be done no matter if you if you if you stammer like him or not. Like, I still remember the pain of those words,
yeah, no,
but
and that is the thing. I'm glad you brought that up, because this lady had no impact on me. Like, she was not my teacher. She had no power.
Mhm.
But when I was in grad school, there would be people who would put it on my grade, because in grad school they do
Oh, really?
a summary. Yeah. And
That's
there
really
was someone, one of my teachers wrote, "She stutters at times, but she's aware of it, so that's good." I was like, what why would you have to put that on there? Like, and to me that was one of the worst, because it was documented. And like, and there was a thing that people would say things like, there is another teacher at my school who had said that if you have dyslexia, you should be in grad school. That, because it was people of power doing that, that hurts so much more, even if it's not as wacky and weird as the next example I'm going to say.
and
Yeah.
like,
Okay.
why shouldn't you be aware that you have a stammer? Of course, if you have blockages, if you have repetitions, you will be aware of that, right?
Yeah, yeah, no, exactly.
I
They so
didn't.
don't understand it.
I
Yeah.
Um,
didn't think. For me, if you ask me, uh, I had the worst family members. Basically, my 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 brothers, sisters, cousins, aunts, uncles. Uh, they basically never gave me a chance in life to basically do anything, because they were of the view that he can't even say his name properly, and I now am doing the best of all of them in life. So
Yeah, but
basically that.
I think it's very important not to feel like the vengeance towards
uh,
them. I think,
it's not vengeance, I will say. It's probably that probably gives you that motivation
yeah,
to actually become better.
yeah, it's fine to have motivation, but like, uh, it doesn't matter that you are successful than them per se, until you are doing the things in life that you want to do, right? Uh,
Of course.
oh, I
so
like that distinction, because I
yeah,
think sometimes what I've seen is people like wanting to show them, and especially getting all kinds of education, like a doctorate like I did, and when I could have just gotten a master's, but I had to show my third grade teacher and get $100,000 in debt.
And now
a master's would have been fine.
yeah, now I am in that situation. I got my master's degree, but I want to go a step further and to try to get a doctoral as well. Yeah.
Well, hopefully, in your country, you don't have to go into debt just to get an education like you do in the US. So
No, like here you
bit expensive. Yeah.
yeah.
Like
But
I just got a PhD in the US. Yeah, because many other students, though I got the scholarship, so I was fine. But there are many students who are under a debt of a few $1,000s, which is not good, and the current job market is also not that good. Yeah.
Here in my country of Serbia, you can either get on the budget of the country if you have good results behind you, or you are a self-financing one. If you can't pay, you can't move forward.
Usually,
but no one will chase you, you know.
Yeah, and it's that vengeance thing. I think it can be a motivator, but you have to keep it in check, or else
exactly
you have to look at these things.
Absolutely. So,
and there was one more that I wanted to share, which was
yes, please.
I get a mix of sexism in as well.
Please.
And so once a drunk guy asked me if I stuttered when I orgasm, which I have in my show, like I can turn these into comedy. And then I responded, which then became one of my jokes. So and that was good. You can watch this special to see what that is. But once a guy told me after a show that I stuttered because I had the wrong kinds of orgasms. And
Seriously.
and he was with 3 women, and they were like, why are you saying this? Why are you even asking her this? Because didn't you see her act? She's going to put you in her act now. And I asked him what he meant by that. And there's a third place where you could have an orgasm. And that's what he meant. So I won't go any further than that.
Those are deep topics that we can skip.
Yes.
But yeah, you said you were of Italian American descent, right?
Yes.
And Italy and Serbia are kind of close, you know. So I wanted to ask you, or at least closer than the Italy and the US, you know. So I wanted to ask you, how were your parents? Were they very considerate or not? Or
Yeah, no, that's a really great question. And I talk about it in my book a lot. So my parents, in terms of disability stuff, they were great. My dad is hard of hearing. And my dad's dad was hard of hearing, and my dad's mom was hard of hearing. So I came from, like, it's very uncommon for disabled kids to be born into disabled families. But I was lucky enough to have that. So I feel I had a head start. On my mom's side, my mom, her mom had polio. Her mom was a mess though. Where it's a whole thing. Like, she malingered for drugs, and used her polio to
Oh,
get attention throughout her whole life. Kind of a Munchausen thing on herself. It was very weird. Anyway, so they were desensitized to all of this. So I feel I kind of got a head start there, coming from a disability culture. Now, my extended family in Italian American culture, I don't, Italian Americans all came in the early 1900s, so that is
yes,
the
yes, I know
Italian
that.
culture that they came from. And I go back to my family now, who are still there in Tuscany, and I don't know if they would be like my family who moved here because of the time, but my extended family wasn't always comfortable about talking about it. I wasn't comfortable, like, as a woman in Italian American culture at the time that I was coming up, you kind of had to take care of everyone else. Like, I always had to pass out cake, and I still resent always having to pass out cake at a family party. And there's this thing about making other people feel comfortable, which is nice, and it's hospitality, and I hope that everybody who comes into my house feels that way. I took it on as I can't stutter in front of anybody because it'll make them uncomfortable.
The
And I think
same
that
thing, the
is one of
same
those
hit.
core things. Okay.
Yeah, like the reason why I raised the question between Italy and Serbia is of the mentality, and basically the mentality is not accepting it uh, fully, like, but okay, we know that he has a stammer, and it is what it is, but he has to deal with that. Don't bother us too much about it, you know. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
I
no, and it's so
same
hard to
thing.
change that.
Yeah. Even for me also, like back in like India also, the mindset is the same. Uh, Someone who stammers, like people will just say that, don't waste my time, which is a bit rude to the people who are actually trying to do their best to just talk in a fluent manner with you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then there's the assumption that fluent people don't waste your time.
True that.
Yeah.
True that. Because like they actually speak the most I will say the worst of the things, basically shittiest
You know,
shittiest
But
things.
stutterers
like,
cut the fat, and we're good. It's
yeah,
Yeah,
the fluents who go on and on and on.
absolutely.
I
Uh,
am sorry for taking attention again, but I had a very encouraging words of my mother who said to me that I don't speak a lot, but when I speak, it's something worth listening
Absolutely.
to, and it gave me such a boost of self confidence, you know.
Mhm.
And
So
guys, uh, uh, you would have seen that there has been a lot of work which has been done, and it's actually proven in many journal papers also that people who have this issue actually are the smartest in the world. So yeah.
nice, nice,
You had to slide that one in there, huh?
yeah.
I'm sure that paper is just laying down at the family events you are going to, that you're just
I will
reading it in
actually,
front of your family.
I will actually
That
know.
will
I will
be,
actually, yeah.
yes.
I will actually share all of those journal papers which have been also published in journals like Nature and Science, which are renowned as the best journals. There has been a proper research which has been done by various universities in the world that people who actually stutter or stammer are really smart, like Nina ji and Milos.
Yeah.
And you as
That
well.
will that will increase vengefulness inside him when he shows the
Yeah.
paper, you know. So yeah.
How was your first stage talk? So basically, when was it? Where was it? What was your thinking before that talk? How did you do that? And what did you feel once you were done with it?
Well, I think even before I started doing comedy, I spoke at Cal State East Bay. That's our one of our local colleges here. I talked to their fluency class, and the way I did it was I was like, okay, students, I'm going to write down all the questions you have. So let's take 5 minutes now and just shout out everything you want me to talk about, and I'll write it down, and then I'll create my speech off of that. And I did that, and I was buzzed. I was high for like 3 days afterwards. And I was like, I
Nice.
enjoyed this way too
Nice.
much. And
Nice.
I was like, maybe I should return to that thing that I wanted to do a long time ago, which was to do comedy. Um, and like I've always loved comedy since I was a kid, and that's why I wanted to do that when I was a kid. Gave up the dream when I was 17, then picked it up when I was 35, I think, something like
Okay.
that.
Yes,
Or, no, the 36.
Okay. Yeah,
yeah.
Milos, do you have
Yeah,
anything?
basically my question was to you, Nina. Um, yeah, so we covered the parents part. They were more or less supportive, right? I
Mm-hmm.
I saw that they were your biggest support as far as uh, comedy goes, right?
Yeah, my mom was a big fan, and they didn't block what I watched when I was a kid, so I could
And
watch
does
Richard
she
Pryor.
attend your show? Because I think I saw that as well.
Yeah, so my mom passed away almost a year ago, and
Oh,
that's when it
oh,
first came out. Yeah, thank you.
I
Um,
yes,
no,
I
I
am
appreciate it.
sorry to
Thank
hear that.
you. Yeah, no, but I was really glad that she got it, got in the film, and left us
Uh-huh.
with that. And but she, yeah, but both my parents would come, and they would critique all the comics. My dad, who is hard of hearing, would say, "How come they mumble their words? You don't do that." But the rest of them, they mumble into the microphone. Um, so yeah, so they always had something to say, and they don't care what I say. They're fine.
Yes, so I mean, Pavan and me, we have forgot to raise a question of the previous guest of our podcast, and that is how is stuttering awareness in the US in general?
I think it sucks. I mean, and like I think the US, we always think we're better than everyone else. I don't know if that's a perception you guys have, but and like I talk to my Italian cousins, and they think like, oh, the US is this and that, and I was like, um our food sucks here, like, like
Oh,
unless you go to the South and you get barbecue, like there's some exceptions, but
Yes, I
general.
have heard of Southern hospitality, right? It's
Depending on who you are, yes. But in
depending.
general, yes, yeah. No, there's a lot of warmth and great food there, um, depending on where you are. Um, but yeah, I think we think we're doing better than we are, but we're still fighting the same fight we fought forever. And like there's a reason why the comedy special was directed by Gina Chin Davis, who is a woman who
Yes,
stutters, and
yes,
that's because I wouldn't trust my words to anybody
exactly,
else, and
Yes.
exactly.
because
Yeah.
they're gonna twist it, they're gonna make it into an inspiration, they're gonna, just I don't trust that process. And in America, like in the UK, there's a ton of disabled comics who get on TV, who get gigs. In America, it's the same 4 or 5 white dudes. And that's where yeah, it, like we say it's okay, it's not.
But
Yeah.
here I want to make a point that I am kind of tired of looking like for acceptance. As long in the law, in the state of law, I can achieve all the things as you, then be sure that I will achieve them. And that is like that is all that I want of my countryman, you know? So
Yeah.
yeah,
Well, and that's why there is a difference between the civil rights laws and changing hearts and minds.
hmm
And if we can get the laws first, we can work on changing the hearts and minds. It's hard to do it the other way, to
Yeah.
get
I think
acceptance and rights through hearts and minds.
Yeah, but I think that in India is even worse than what US is, because
Hmm.
I have been to India, and now I
Yeah.
am in US for the past 5 years, so I know a bit of both. I think back in India, the problem is that people will actually start to make fun of you, but in US, I think people will still not make fun of you in that way. But yes, of course, there has to be a lot many things to be done, and I think that yes, as you mentioned, Nina, laws have to be brought in, maybe, which can actually try to support people with this problem. And I think that one of the reasons that Milos and myself, we have actually started this channel, we actually knew that number of views won't be that much, but
yeah.
I think that this is very important platform that
Hmm.
we are trying to build up to actually show the life experiences of the people who have succeeded in their life with this issue, that actually shows to all those people who are still not in that phase
And
that
Yeah.
and
even
yeah,
yes, Milord.
I am sorry, Pavandip, and also to bring awareness that the stammering as such is a health care issue. It's not a character one per
No,
se.
it's
Here
not.
in Serbia,
So
eh,
yeah.
the yeah, here in Serbia people view stammering sometimes in that way, like he has a lack of courage or character or I don't know
Yeah.
what. But
So,
yeah,
Nina,
yeah.
what do you feel? Is stammering a psychological issue? Is stammering a medical issue? Is stammering a bad habit, or what?
Oh, yeah. No, it is a difference in the brain, is the way I say it. And note I'm saying difference in the brain and not an abnormality. I was a psych major, and whenever they talk about something like dyslexia and say there's an abnormality, it's like, okay, I have an abnormal brain. Thanks a lot. And I think those words that we use are important to describe ourselves because we internalize that. And so, yeah, so I see it as a neurological thing. And also I see it as a disability issue, because if we can identify it as a disability issue, it puts us with this group of people who are fighting for our rights. And I know that's super controversial because people have such a stigma of the word disability. And I think we have to fight our own ableism as stutterers to change how we look at that, because those are the people who are fighting for our rights to be in the workplace, to be in school, to not be discriminated against. And if we can join them instead of pulling away, it's going to help us.
Yes, I kind of agree with you, but I have to ask you a challenging question on this. Do you have like a fear that if you have a disability mark, that that will even more give them the right to um, to do the underestimating of your own potentials, you know?
If they're gonna do that anyway, they're gonna do that anyway.
Okay.
Like if they're going to underestimate you based on disability, they're going to do that based on stuttering too. But and this is from a U.S. perspective. So I just want to make sure, because the laws are different. If I call it a disability here, that means I am beckoning the disabled ancestors to get the disabled rights that I am entitled to. And so that is that to me is very important to make sure I can call on those rights. And by calling it a disability, it I think it emphasizes that. And yeah, people can be assholes either way. And I think they're going to be assholes whether you call it a disability or whether you call it a stutter.
Yeah.
What's that one method or that one technique which I know isn't there, but what method do you think will help young children uh, become more confident with this issue?
For me, I think the most important thing that you can do is meet other people who stutter.
But
That
then,
to me is it.
but then, uh, even though their parents might be pushing them to like go out, they have that fear in them that what will the people say? How can the young children remove that from their mind?
Yeah, I mean, I think that you do it through, I think you do it through having it modeled by other people who stutter. Like there's nothing more powerful to me than being at a table at a stuttering conference, at a restaurant, and all of us stuttering the heck out of what we want to order. And to me, like that just like if every single kid could be in that room, that's going to change their life. And I think the more open that we could be with this, the more that they're going to see the possibilities, because I don't think there is one way. I think everyone has to figure it out for themselves, but they figure it out by having the world
Exactly.
to bounce it off of. And that's why this is so important. That is one of the things that I wanted to say about this podcast is you guys are the ones who are changing hearts and minds that will hopefully change
Thank
how
you.
people
Yeah,
think.
Thank
I
you.
do
Thank
hope that we will achieve that. It's
you.
a big endeavor, but I think it's
Yeah,
possible.
we actually were so this channel started a month back. We were actually both feeling a bit depressed and sad. So we
Mm.
just wanted to change our
No,
life.
no,
So we
I didn't feel depressed, but you
okay,
did.
I
Uh,
was at least I
you
was
did,
at least
yeah. But
I was depressed.
Graduate school can make you feel depressed and sad. So
My
just a heads
God.
up.
So right now, yeah. So basically, like I completed the PhD. So right now I'm like a staff here at UVA. So so my life changed. I was feeling very depressed, like lost. I have become a scientist right now, but then still I'm not happy with my life. I don't know why. Maybe because of my speech.
yeah,
Let's
It,
I
begin
it's
think
stand
I think it's not totally wrong to work um, on your speech if you don't have a desire to impress no one. Like if you are doing it for yourself to feel more comfortable in the conversations,
Yeah.
and so on. That's like a roller coaster, a wave that
mm,
is changing. But yeah,
You know, Nina, we have got so many comments from so many people, and all of those are really like the comments are so good. Like
yeah.
you guys are doing this for us, which is very good. But
Well, and
yeah,
also I just want to add for you, there is a after graduate school, like you're in a daze. And like I felt after my doctorate, I felt like I was in a car accident. And like I was like
me too.
ah
Me
and
too.
like and totally depressed because like you work so hard for
Yes,
this thing, and then you're like,
yes. And
why'd I do
I
that?
John,
I
correct.
yeah, because I was working and trying to get my master degree at the same time, and it took more time. When I defended my master thesis and completed that, I was waking up from the dream and still thinking, oh, I have to work again to get my master thesis done, you know? So
Mhm.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, no, and it's just a different mindset, and it's hard, and I think you like this was supposed to make me happy, and now it's not. And so this is the challenge of seeing what else is going to make you happy. And also, like when you don't have the monkey on your back of
Yeah,
like a thesis,
yeah,
you're like, how am I going to spend my time? And I think
yeah.
I think a stuttering podcast is the absolute best way to do that.
Thank
Exactly,
you.
exactly.
Thanks a lot.
Somebody had to do it.
Yeah, I had to do it.
So
Yeah.
yeah. So do you, Nina, have more time, or should we?
Do
Um,
you?
I'm good. Yeah, I mean, me and my husband are eventually going to go out, but he's probably happy to stay in bed. So
okay.
Perfect.
So
Sleep.
just Nina, if you can, like, um, if you can ask our next guest a question, what question would it be?
who's your next guest? Do you know yet?
It is Hanan. Uh,
Oh, it's Shirley.
Rvic, or no, or
Shirley.
Chirali. Yeah, okay.
Shirley.
Yeah. I
Shirley.
I am
Okay.
sorry.
So
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Shirley,
Okay.
Shirley is So she's a 24, 25-year-old young lady. She actually moderates calls, and calls where only people who stutter come. So she actually meets hundreds of stutterers. So yeah.
Oh, is she with
Yeah.
BSA or
No.
Stammer?
No. So basically,
Okay.
she is working with a site called Stammering.
Yes.
Stammering. Stamurai. Stammering.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Um, yeah, I think what would I want her? I think as a 25-year-old woman in these days, I would want to find out who she like who were the female stutterers who she saw, who she looked toward, and did she find them when she was growing up? Because for me, I didn't see my first woman on TV stutter till I was like 23. And like the first time that I saw a woman on TV who had stuttered, who wasn't talking about stuttering, was me. When I was on a morning show, and
Yeah.
like and I feel like we need to have more things where it's like it's not about just stuttering, it's about comedy,
Yeah.
and the person just happens to stutter. So I would want to know what her media representations were.
Nice. One so like one more thing that basically I will surely want to ask you is that what is Nina G's future goals in life? What is your next challenge? You have basically done so many shows, you have written books. What is your next challenge, especially in terms of stuttering, or to make people know about this, or be again fluent?
Yeah,
And
I
and
mean,
and is there a possibility for us to see you maybe in some movie as well?
oh yeah, okay. Well, one thing that I would love is I would love to I am the producer of the Comedians with Disabilities Act, which is a comedy troupe of various disabled comics, and I would love to do a special like we did for me, but about all of us. So that is a goal that I have. I'm throwing it out there. If anyone wants to fund that, Netflix, come at me. I
Right?
doubt that'll happen, but we'll
Easy
see.
fun.
Yeah,
I'm sure it'll be funded.
if you have a go fund me page, we can share the link in the
Okay.
description. Yeah.
I am not that organized, so I doubt that will happen, but I appreciate that. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
In terms of my stutter, um, my goal is to go to as many open mics as I can to see what I'm going to stutter on, to see how I need to work on that, to like work in terms of how to get the material in a place that if I stutter, it's still gonna be a good joke. Because sometimes if a stutter is at a certain place, it screws up my timing. But if I can kind of build up to it, then that works. So yeah, just to continue doing comedy with a stutter.
Nice, nice.
Nice.
Anything else to ask right
Um,
for this podcast?
well, yes. Do you ever think that you will come into the phase of doing so many open mics that you don't have a stammer? More.
No.
No.
Once I tried out for a comedy club, and there was a woman who had booked it. And so after my tryout, I went up to her and I was like, hey, I'd love to be on a show. And she said, you just keep on going to all those open mics. I'm sure one day you'll have enough self-confidence that you'll stop stuttering. And I was like, oh, okay. I won't be
Yeah.
coming back here. So thank
Bye-bye.
you.
That is not that type of
See
disorder.
my face.
Yeah.
See my face.
Yeah, no,
Bye-bye.
and the thing is, to do comedy in the first place with a stutter, there has to be a certain level of confidence. I don't know how I'd have to be like Donald Trump kind of confident in order to achieve that. And I'm cool. I'm good.
I think that today, whenever the viewers will watch this video, I think all of them will learn so many things from you, because people actually are scared to just go outside and talk. And you have shown, you are a shining light who has actually shown that you have to actually change this part in yourself. You have to actually go out and just don't care whether you are talking fluently or not. The main purpose is to be yourself when you go outside. So
Yeah,
yeah.
and have that self-respect day in and day out. And if
Any Nina, any
yes.
final?
What's that?
So like in any final comments for the viewers of this channel?
Just please check out my Amazon. It's my special on Amazon Prime. It's called Nina G Stutterer Interrupted. Everything I've done is under Stutterer Interrupted, the book, my album. And if you can leave a comment, leave a review, because that helps people to discover it. So please do that as well.
Thank you.
Nice.
Thanks a lot, Nina. And I hope that you will be back here again.
Yeah,
I would
thank you.
love to be. So thank you guys, and thank you for the work you do.
Yeah.
Milos, over to you.
Thank you for joining us, Nina. I had some doubts if this will gonna happen or not, because I think you are the most famous comedian as far as
In the world.
stammering goes. So
In
yeah.
the world.
I think
Yes,
Drew Lynch
you are.
would fight you on that, but yeah, okay.
You are right.
Yeah.
Because when we search, I think the first name of a comedian who actually stutters is you only.
No, it is Drew Lynch, but I appreciate. Yeah, Drew Lynch is. Try and get him on here. I doubt you will, but but I'm here. So I'm the most famous woman who
Woman.
stutters comic, so we can say that.
Perfect.
If he has some social media account, I will try to contact him as well. So yeah.
Great.
Thank you, Nina, for joining us again, and check her comedy special. I really enjoyed it a lot, and
Thank
I
you.
think that will be the case for you as well. So subscribe, like, comment, and see you soon. Bye.
Thank you, guys.
See you soon.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
See you, Nina. Bye.
All right. Thank you. And if you need anything, like wanting to talk about post grad funk, let me know.
Sure, because